Bardock is one of the most popular characters in the Dragon Ball franchise, but there are many mysteries and facts about him that many people don't know about. In this video, I will be delving into Bardock, his popularity, and much more. Most of this information can be found on the Consensu website, the TV special itself, and many other things, if you want further reading or watching. Let's begin by explaining Bardock's inception. Bardock is the main character of the 1990 TV special Dragon Ball Z, a lonesome final battle, the father of Z-warrior Son Goku, who challenged Frieza. Known in the States simply as Dragon Ball Z, Bardock, the father of Goku. He is voiced by Masako Nozawa and Sony Strait in Japanese and English respectively. Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru was the original character designer for Bardock and his squad mates. But they were all much different from what we know now. We have Akira Toriyama, the original curator of Dragon Ball, to thank for the redesigns, as he had contributions to both names and designs for the characters for the special. Comparing the two, Bardock didn't change too much. The one key feature that did change was Bardock's hair, which was changed to be exactly like Goku's. In the supplementary Daisenshu TV animation Part 3, it was revealed that one of the original plans for the TV special was to have Bardock face off against his son as enemies. Something that has been made into what-ifs in video games multiple times. Something that may be surprising to many fans is that Bardock was completely invented for the anime. He was not canon to the manga for the longest time. Toriyama loved the character and the story so much that he incorporated the final scene into the manga in just 2 panels, where Frieza recalls a Saiyan that looked like Goku, a Saiyan that stood up to him until the very end. As Toriyama said in an interview, "I really liked the story of Bardock, Goku's father. It's quite dramatic and the kind of story I absolutely wouldn't draw, if it were me. It was like watching a different kind of Dragon Ball in a good way, so I thought it was nice." I would like to point out that Frieza in the manga says that he was one of the Saiyans that stood up against him. So it sort of implies that there were more Saiyans. Perhaps in the manga story, Bardock did convince a few Saiyans, that being a difference between the special and the manga. This is one of the only instances where an idea for the anime was adapted into the manga. The TV special's Bardock is a low-class warrior, leader of a Saiyan crew that is cursed with the power to see his race's demise thanks to an alien whose planet he got just taken over. Bardock tries to convince the other Saiyans to join him in the revolution, but is unsuccessful. He bears his fallen friend's blood-soaked bandana around his head and heads for a battle against Frieza, but is killed along with every other Saiyan on planet Vegeta. As many of you know, there are many different versions of Bardock out there. One is the sequel to the original TV special in the form of the Episode of Bardock manga by Naho Oishi, which was followed by an anime adaptation. Toriyama even designed Lord Child himself, the main antagonist of the story and an ancestor of Lord Frieza. The story sends Bardock back in time instead of killing him during the confrontation with Frieza. Episode of Bardock also fulfilled many fans' dreams as Bardock achieves the form of Super Saiyan, also being implied that he was the very first Super Saiyan. This story really makes no sense. Another version of Bardock was that of Dragon Ball Online, the MMORPG that closed in 2013. In the MMO, Mira and Towa are wreaking havoc all through time and space, and it is the job of the Time Patrol to stop them, along with future Trunks, who was tasked with being a time patroller as punishment for meddling with time. Through their adventures, they battle a masked man, who seems to be following the orders of the Time Breakers. In one of these battles, on age 762, the masked man is taken off of Mira's mind control and betrays him. As it turns out, it was Bardock, who was saved from death by Mira and Towa, and then turned into a slave. Sometime later, Bardock is shown to have survived the battle against Mira, and helps the Time Patrollers on Namek. If this sounds familiar, it's because Dragon Ball Online was the basis for Dragon Ball Xenoverse and the newer Dragon Ball Heroes stories. It basically became something where they could just pull stories and characters and different ideas and incorporate into original stories for future Dragon Ball content. In Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, the Masked Man storyline was adapted as the Time Breaker Bardock would attack the player character under the Time Breaker's commands. During the final confrontation, Mira battles the Time Patrol hero. Bardock betrays him and takes Mira into a dimension between time and space, where they do battle. Bardock ultimately turns Super Saiyan 3 and defeats the Timebreaker. The final version of Bardock I want to discuss today is the most controversial one, the Dragonball minus Bardock. This effectively erased the Bardock special from the manga continuity and replaces it with a brand new chapter. It also gave us further information about Goku's family history. Gine was a Saiyan woman who was part of Bardock's squad. She wasn't a great fighter by any means, and was saved multiple times by him. The two fell in love and had 2 kids. Toriyama also explained that most Saiyans didn't really fall in love, and just had each other to reproduce. Bardock and Gine were an exception. Instead of having future powers, Bardock now simply finds it weird that all Saiyans were called back to Vegeta. Bardock and Gine sneak out at night and send Goku to Earth, just to keep him safe in case something happens. Sadly, something did happen. This version of Bardock was finally adapted into an animated form with Dragon Ball Super Broly. The story of the manga in the movie was intact, and some things were even added. For example, some may have missed it, but we actually see Bardock did indeed rebel against Frieza, as we see his armor is shattered, and he has a handful of Saiyans behind him. So clearly, something went on. The way the movie shows it, however, does not line up with the manga story. As you can see here, Frieza remembers Bardock in the way he was shown in the special. In Broly, not only does he look completely different, but he's also at the planet when it's destroyed. No way Frieza saw him from the distance. But anyways, one more tidbit about this Bardock is that Toyotaro, the artist for the Dragon Ball Super manga, drew a one-image story about Bardock's squad mates during these events. In this story, Bardock still has his old squad mates from the special, but they were all killed by Dodoria before they could return to Vegeta. This is why Bardock starts to get suspicious, as they don't return the calls. Here is a little more information about Bardock. First of all, his name is a pun off of Bardock, and throughout all of Dragon Ball Heroes, and different stuff like that, he has obtained countless transformations. Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, and even Super Saiyan 4. Bardock only has one appearance in the original Dragon Ball manga, in chapter 307, entitled Kickstarting the Super Decisive Battle. He appears as a small flashback, as Frieza recalls a Saiyan that stood up against him in the final moments of Planet Vegeta. Bardock is kind of like the Boba Fett of Dragon Ball, a character that didn't do much in the original story, but has become something completely else in outside material. The fandom itself thinks of him as a great character. I have my own opinions, but I do like him overall. I do hope we get to see a little more of Bardock in the future, maybe a spin-off with his adventures saving Gine and stuff like that. I think that would be really cool, at least to develop the new kind of Bardock that we have a little more. Get him to become his own rebel self that he was in the original special. Anyways guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this character history of Bardock, the father of Goku. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and click the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. The Dragon Ball question of the week this week is, how do you think Goku would react if he saw Bardock for the first time? Leave it in the comments down below and start a discussion. Anyways, until we meet again, see ya!
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Smugstick, unless you want to be destroyed.
Lord Beerus, that's hardly fair. But also, don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified when he uploads new videos.